Interacting in the Spirit of Christ. What does that phrase mean to you? We interact with people every day of our lives. Oftentimes, those interactions could, and sometimes do, lead to conflict. Conflict is inevitable. But if we are to interact in the Spirit of Christ, how should we handle this conflict? Jesus said during his Sermon on the Mount, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God." You may recall hearing about a peacemakers program in the past. Peacemaking uses 4 steps, known as the 4 G's, to help us restore relationships and resolve conflict. Number 1, glorify God. 2, get the log out of your eye. 3, gently restore. And finally, go and be reconciled. This month, we are going to take a look at conflict through some biblical examples and discuss how we can use them in our lives to deal with our everyday conflicts. Before we start talking about how to deal with conflict, we first have to understand how we individually respond to conflict. Let's take a look at one of the first conflicts ever recorded, Cain and Abel. In the very beginning of the 4th chapter of Genesis, we are introduced to 2 brothers, Cain and Abel. Cain worked the land, and Abel took care of the sheep. Both brought an offering of their labors to God. Cain brought some fruit, and Abel brought fat from a firstborn of his flock. God looked favorably on Abel, but not on Cain. And this made Cain very angry. God actually addressed Cain, warning him that sin wants to have him, but that he must rule over it. In verse 8, we find the first response to conflict. Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. In the extreme, an attack response to conflict could lead to murder, but most often is displayed in less violent ways. When we try to use force or intimidation, whether physical, verbal, or financial, to make an opponent give in to our demands, we are responding to conflict with assault. An even more deceptive attack is blame. When we try and shift responsibility away from ourselves by blaming the conflict on another person. Blame can quickly turn to gossip when we talk about others rather than speaking to them directly. We try and win others to our cause by talking to more and more people. In summary, attack responses seek to place as much pressure as possible on your neighbor in order to win. Going back to the story of Cain and Abel, we can also observe the opposite response to conflict. Let's pick up where we left off. In verse 9, we read, "Then the Lord said to Cain, 'Where is your brother Abel?' 'I don't know,' he replied. 'Am I my brother's keeper?' Here, Cain responds with an escape response, denial. We respond to conflict with denial when we try and pretend the conflict does not exist. The next step in the escape response is flight. Have you ever tried to avoid a person you had a conflict with? This is an escape response, avoiding the conflict and running away from the person and any possible solution. In summary, escape responses, denial and flight, focus on getting away from the conflict rather than resolving it. Each of us responds to conflict in a different way. While you go through the questions with your group, think about which side you usually gravitate towards when facing conflict, attack or escape. There is one response to conflict that helps us avoid it completely: overlooking minor offenses. In Proverbs, we read, "A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense." When someone has offended you, the first question to ask is, can I overlook this? Many conflicts can be quickly resolved if we are willing to overlook. It is a wonderful act of love to extinguish a fire before it ever starts. When we understand how we personally respond to conflict, we can start to focus on choosing a different way, a Christ-like way, to deal with the conflict that arises in our lives. Over the next 2 sessions, we'll look at the 4 G's of peacemaking and learn how we can apply them to our own circumstances. Remember, as we go through them, that these 4 steps center around reconciling our relationships, rather than only resolving our issues. Join us next time to discuss how to glorify God in a conflict and discover how to get the log out of your eye.